Money itself, it is a worthy servant, but a worthless master.
Moving forwards, I think we've covered enough about the business side of things and your agency, etc. So I want to start to move towards a little bit of an intimate topic, if that's okay. Maybe starting with Aaron, or actually, you know what? Let's go with Aiden, as I haven't heard from you for quite some time. So tell me a little bit about, what do you do for a maybe potentially like a morning ritual or a daily ritual where, anything that you do to prime yourself daily to make sure that your creative fuel and your buzz is at an all-time high, so that your state is at that peak while you're running your business?
Good question. And this is going to be a little bit counterintuitive because I prefer an evening ritual over a morning ritual. And I have been this way since I was maybe 10 or 11. But literally the moment I wake up, I throw on the dirtiest clothes and get out of the house. I don't brush my teeth. Maybe I take a piss, but I'm out of the house into the world. I literally cannot stand. I don't eat breakfast. I'm out of the house. I'm drinking coffee. I'm listening to podcasts, and usually the way it works for me is in the morning. I can't help but rocket up into the world. Now, after I do some email triaging, I talked a little bit earlier about this, but I'm on my phone for about an hour. I'm not talking to people. I'm just checking stuff. And as soon as I believe I've triaged everything, I come home and I take it easy for about 30 minutes. I take a nice long shower. I meditate for about 20 minutes in the shower. And I slowly get back into the deep work in front of my big computer mainframe. So it's a really disjointed kind of morning routine. I'm not familiar with many other people that have a tendency like mine, but I figure there's somebody else out there that wakes up that cannot have this quiet, immediate thing. They're just hectic, got to get out the house, and then once they've taken care of a little business, they get started in a much calmer way. And I found that to be the most incredibly helpful thing for me, and that's the way I've always been, and I expect to be that way for quite a while still, I would imagine.
Cool, brilliant. So and Aaron as well. So just tell me about how you keep your creativity at an all-time buzz.
First of all, what keeps my creativity high? I'll say probably more recently, being a parent. I have a son who's 4 and a daughter who's 2. Aside from facilitating with Legos, and you mentioned that earlier, we do use Lego in some scenarios to solve pretty complex problems, system problems, and we run scenario options with clients with Legos. But I also play with Legos with my kids. And in the Lego world, I would be considered an adult fan of Lego. That's an AFOL.
A weirdo?
Just kidding. I am an adult fan of Lego. When you have kids, their education and teaching them becomes very important. And what influences them and is really kind of setting the tone for the rest of their life. And I take that very seriously, in a sense that I take play very seriously. So I spend a lot of time with the kids. We play a lot. I have a very good relationship with my children, and that's not only a motivator, but it also keeps me, I would say, very creative in the sense that, like, I'm always trying to find new ways to engage them. They're very young. Their minds are just like sponges absorbing everything. And I love feeding them with not just knowledge, but like experiences and I learn from them. And to me, the kids have been massive. But my morning routine is pretty simple. I mean, my kids come in the bed, they wake me up first thing in the morning. We always do breakfast, so there's some sort of eggs and coffee, and drop them off at school. I get into the office if I decide to go to the office that day. Sometimes I'll go to a coffee shop and work. my routines also are in the evening. That there's always a consistency, but when you have kids, a lot of your plans and designs stop, and then you just kind of go with the flow of what the kid's schedule is. But I spend a lot of time listening to audiobooks. I'm not a huge reader. I'm like audiobook 2x speed. Give me the content as fast as I can. I don't have a lot of time to just sit and just read. And I mean, and I don't even think I would like to, even if I had the time to. But I'm always learning something new. And that's one thing I spend a decent amount of time, not only every day, but every week. A large chunk of my time is learning something new that I can either apply to my craft or teach other people how to do.
Talk to me a little bit about mindset. So, I just believe that, for you guys, where you guys were to where you guys now, running a lucrative business, you have to adopt a certain mindset. You need to have a certain attitude to get there, to achieve that success. And of course, you got to do your legwork, but there's also, I believe, like an element of maybe the universe, relying on the universe to also do its thing, and having that belief system within yourself to make sure that your belief system is in line with your actions as well. So I'm not sure if this is a wishy-washy topic, but I'm going the rounds of like the law of attraction and that kind of area of spirituality as such. So I'm not sure if this is a wishy-washy topic for you guys, but I hope I formed the question correctly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, do I believe that my thoughts become reality? Yes. To me, that would sum up kind of your question. What you think you attract. Absolutely. And it's actually happened time and time again. And my wife has an interesting story, because historically she hasn't been big into that. But every single thing that I've had up on my board in our room, I've manifested in one way or another over some time. So I think that a lot of people are limited to their own success based on their own imagination of what they believe that they can achieve. I mean, I'll tell you one thing. If I would have predicted a year ago where our business would be today, I would have sold myself short. Okay. And to be honest, we have very big goals and visions for our company. And, we are on our way. We are hitting all the milestones. We are making all the stops. And I think that comes with first having a very clear vision of what we want. And to answer your question, though, I do believe your thoughts become your reality. So you can create some pretty incredible things in your life, and you can also destroy some pretty important things in your life
by not thinking.
By not thinking, yeah.
So brilliant, awesome. So I mean, where do you find that source of that motivation for you, and where do you believe that comes from? Is that is that something that's sourced from within yourself, or do you believe there's other forces at work that complement your effort as well? So talk to me a little bit about that, and where you stand from a mindset perspective.
Yeah, it's kind of a deep question. So I do go to a center for spiritual living, a church, whatever you want to call it, every Sunday. And I this isn't something I typically talk about, but I mean, here's the thing. I mean, in all reality, I believe that there's one source, there's one thing, there's one God, there's one universe, whatever you want to call it, and we are a part of what that is. We are a manifestation of what that is, and in essence, we have the ability to tap into that because we are what that is. Like, we are part of this one thing that you can call the universe. So I think people who understand that and leverage it can create some pretty incredible things in their life.
Cool. Okay, so and moving to Aiden. So what where do you stand from a mindset perspective as well, and from a spiritual perspective? Where do you source all of your intuition and energy to conduct yourself through business and life?
I love that question, man, and I appreciate having this conversation taken to a level that I spend a lot of time contemplating stuff like this, and I have a pretty dark path as well as Aaron. That I walked in my life, and a lot of pain in my experience forces you to learn things and shift your beliefs and throw away structures that don't work in favor of new and intimidating and sometimes nonsensical ones at first. And the irony for me is I've lived my entire life as a scientist. Like I said, my father's a mathematician, my mother's a CPA. We are numbers and facts and science people. But the whole concept of science is simple in the approach of forming any kind of hypothesis or theory, performing a series of tests, and seeing what happens. And if you like the result, it might be worth duplicating. If you don't like the result, it's probably worth finding a different thing to hypothesize about and perform a new experiment and see if you like that result. So without going too deep into my actual beliefs, I will say that certain things like meditation, long sits full of what I used to believe was just nothingness, have brought a profound amount of peace throughout my day. I don't usually have very calm meditations. I usually have very fierce and conflicting and distractible meditations, but my practice is such that I continue to refocus and redirect, and it's not always easy, but I don't do it for the calm that I experience during meditation. I do it for the soundness of mind during my waking life, because that is where real decisions get made, and that's where my life I can shape towards a happier place for myself, for others. And I believe I practice that skill in silence in a controlled environment so that I can take that out into the world for the betterment of me and everybody else. I do not know where I land as far as the ultra-governing body of our universe, but I cannot doubt my experience and some of the experiments that I've conducted, and I'll continue to experiment. I like to call myself a constantly seeking agnostic. I'm not closed-minded. I'm very open-minded. Give me an experiment, tell me something crazy will happen, I'll do it and I'll see. You know what I mean? And it's with that kind of open-mindedness and abundance mindset that it gives me the ability to be very faithful, to pick myself up after failure, and just generally focus on what I believe to be more important. And I know where you were going to go with the first question before you lost your train of thought, but philosophy is about money and lifestyle. Money itself, the way that fits into my life is very strange. It's not super unique, but it is a worthy servant, but a worthless master, right? And money is a tool. It is not something that I use to measure my worth against others, but it is a tool to facilitate the enjoyment of my life and the enjoyment of the life of people around me. And I believe that what we're doing right now is a perfect opportunity to amass more tools, right? And if we're tremendously lucky in the sense that the process in which that we make money is also beneficial as well. So we make money that enables us to continue living our lifestyle, but the method in which we're making the money is amazing in itself. So it's a cake and eat it too situation. For that, I am grateful. So yeah.
Brilliant, guys. I really love that you guys covered this aspect, which it's really honorable that you guys made yourself vulnerable and dive deep into these intimate topics, because it's really important that our audience gets to connect with you guys on a human level as well. And I'm all about building these type of bridges as well and sharing as well. So that's really, really awesome. So let's wrap up. So is there any other piece of advice that you could potentially give to our audience? Perhaps someone who is at a desk job, a 9-to-5, or maybe someone who's running their own business, maybe a freelance practice or an agency. What piece of advice could you give them to maybe really turn their businesses into a lucrative dream lifestyle business, right? So something similar to what you guys run, or just even pursuing their dreams and not buying someone else's dream and pursuing that.
Go.
I want to speak on something Aiden kind of alluded to earlier, which is going to be about risk a little bit. And if you're watching this, then that means you probably have a computer, which means you probably have an internet. You probably live in a country where, some of the worst case scenarios that might happen to you might be losing your vehicle or moving back in with your parents or your in-laws. You really don't have that much to lose. If you're able to consume this content, you're in a fairly
privileged situation.
If you want to create a business, a lifestyle business, something that you're truly proud of that aligns with your values, you have all of the tools and resources available to you already. There's no reason why you can't risk more to try to achieve those goals for yourself. I think that a lot of people are afraid of what if this could happen? What if what? Like the worst thing that I could think of happening, aside from losing a loved one, which is not what we're really talking about here. If I do this thing, if I invest this money, what's the worst thing that can happen? If I invest this time, what's the worst thing that can happen? I think once people realize that the worst case scenario really isn't even that bad, they then have a little more creative freedom and internal freedom to go out and create what they feel like they need to create. And if you're not happy with where you're at right now in life, it's because you haven't really defined what that is, and you haven't taken the necessary steps, and some may call them risks, to get there. Entrepreneurship is not easy. And I don't want to divert too much, but I will say that when a customer comes to you and they're like, "Oh, listen, can you hook me up with this project? Like, I'll pay you in the back end. Like, I'll pay you after 3 months of sales," right? And you hear this all the time in the creative industry, right? People are like, "Hook me up now and I'll pay you more later." What they're essentially asking you to do is assume the risk. They're asking you to be the entrepreneur because they're too afraid to. If they're asking you that, they're not going to make it, right? So when we pay people what they're worth. I don't want to ask people to hook me up. Like, I'm assuming the risk. I'm the business owner. So if you want to, have these types of results, you have to be willing to risk the things that are needed to risk to get the results. So I know it's not really a positive note, but on a more positive end, you can have that if you're willing to go through those things. So I think that's all I should say about that.
Yeah. Well, let me put the nail in the coffin. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, Aiden, just if you have any last tips that you could give our audience as well.
Yeah. So this whole idea of taking a risk and risk being necessary and risk being worth it, and you not being made of glass, and there is a safety net that you don't think there is. I'm going to steal a little bit of Jim Carrey, who has this anecdote about his father, and his father, I forget exactly what profession he was living in, but or working in. But essentially he worked this job for 40, 50 years. Just one of those career people, was an artist, but worked some kind of somewhat laborish, maybe desk job for close to 40 years. Was 60 years old, 5 years away from retirement, and was laid off. Didn't get his pension, didn't get his 401k, didn't have a job, and was never able to find another job ever again. And his he finally managed somehow to make ends meet. But the moral of the story, as Jim Carrey puts it, is that you can work and waste your life, 40 years of your life, doing something you don't care about and still be f***ed. So you might as well, if you're in both situations, you might as well do something you care about and risk it that way. So it's still kind of not a happy note to end on, but let me end on this, which is that fundamentally, doing this is way easier than suffering 40 hours a week at a job. That, for those of you that are in that situation watching this, I commend you, because that is hard. What we do, what Omar does, that's not hard. That is much easier in comparison. So if you can compare that way, you may indeed come out the other end, and you may blow right past us on this path to bliss and lifestyle business.
Love it. So I think we'll end on that, you guys. It's been so awesome having you guys on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I've learned so much, and I'm sure our audience will pick up so much value from this interview. Maybe in the future you can come on another episode, and we can cover some more topics, and perhaps even see where you are in a couple of years.
We're so full of shit. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, you guys have a huge vision for the future, and maybe we can touch on that in a couple of years down the line.
Would love it. Love it.
Maybe we'll come out. Maybe we'll do one live next time we're in London. We'll hit you up.
There you go. There you go.
Bro, I'm down 100%, and hopefully we'll do it in the studio next time. Super excited. Brilliant, you guys. So, thanks for coming on the show, and I'll catch up with you guys soon.
See you
All
later.
right. See you, dude.